Hi guys, welcome back to another episode. My name is Arjun and thank you so much for always coming back to watch my videos. If you're new to my channel, you're welcome to the family. Consider subscribing and don't forget to turn on the bell icon so that you get to know anytime I post new videos. And for my returning subscribers, thank you so much for the love and support. I really appreciate you all. So today I'm going to show us how to make a stylish side ruffle dress with a bell sleeve. So if you're interested, let's get started. I'll be working with a 3 yards of damask fabric, which is what I have here, and of course I have my matching cotton lining, and I'm working with 2 yards for the lining. So I also have my basic bodice pattern here. This is what I'm working with. If you don't know how to draft a basic bodice pattern, you can check the description box for the link to the video on how to draft a fitted basic bodice pattern, so you can check that out. So I have my pattern. So the first thing I'm going to do is to draft the skirt pattern, because the skirt pattern I'll be using the slash and spread method to do that. So I'm going to draft a simple straight skirt pattern from which we are going to determine how to slash it. Okay, so here I have my pattern paper and I'm just trying to open it up. Okay, so the first thing is to mark out the length of the skirt, the hip line. Okay, and then I will now add the waist measurement. So I'll just quickly rush this part because I believe that most of us know how to draft a simple skirt pattern. So I'll just quickly rush this part. So the skirt length is 23 inches. Okay, so this is 24.5. So I'm going to leave it as it is. So this can be, the excess here can be the sewing allowance needed. So I'll just start from this line. So on this edge I'll just mark the waist measurement. So the waist measurement divided by 4, whatever you have, you're going to mark it on this edge. Alright, like I was saying, the waist measurement is 31 divided by 4. I have 7.75. So I'm going to mark it exactly on this edge, like I said. So this is 7.75. okay, and then from this waistline to the hip line is 8 inches. So on this point, which is 8 inches, I'm going to place the hip measurement. Okay, so the hip measurement is 36 inches divided by 4 is 9. So I'm going to mark 9 here, and then I'm going to use the same 9 that I have here. I'll move it down to the hem line, and then I'm going to connect the point and add my 0.75 or 1 inch or even ½ inch as the sewing allowance. So after that I'll just place it on another paper to cut out the back before I use my paper sellotape to join it together, and then we mark out the real design that we want to create for today's tutorial. So you can see I'm just adding my 0.75 side sewing allowance, and then I'll go ahead now and connect. Alright, you can see that my skirt pattern is ready. After connecting the point, I just cut that off, as you can see, and then I place the front on another paper and then remove or mark out your zipper allowance. Okay, after marking that out, you just take the front and place it over like this. Okay, making sure that it does not exceed the zipper line that you mark, and then you just cut out the same shape. So that is just what I did on this pattern. So now I'm going to open it up and join the sides together. So this is the side, and then this is the side also for the back pattern. So I'm going to use my paper sellotape now to join the sides together, and to do that I'm going to take this 0.75 side sewing allowance here and place it on the back side, making sure that it's also 0.75 for the back. Okay, possible you can just pin it there to make sure that you maintain that 0.75. so you can see it is 0.75. so as it is now, I will just use my tape to hold it down before we mark out the part that we're going to be using the slash and spread method to get the ruffles. So I'll just tape it down. Okay, so now I have it already down. So the next thing to do is to determine the point where I want the ruffle or the gathers to be. So the first thing I'm going to do is to mark from this waistline, you can see, so I'm going to mark 5 inches from the waistline. So I'm using 5 inches because remember that we also have ½ inch on this waistline already for the sewing allowance. So I'll just mark 5 inches. If you want, you can also take it down. This part is going to be plain. At the end of the day, you understand why I am using 5 inches. So I'll come to this back pattern and also mark 5 inches. Okay, and then connect it together to the front just like this. Okay, later I'll just give that point a curve. So that is for this side. So I'll go over to the hem area now. This is the hemline, and you know, this is the center front. You know, this is just one piece. When I'm cutting on my fabric, I'm going to fold my fabric, so this is one piece. So this line now is the center front, while this is the center back. So from this point I'll mark 4 inches, which is supposed to be 8 inches if you open it up. So this is 4 inches, and then I'll mark the same for the back side. Now for the back side, you can see that I am marking it from this zipper line, because at the end of the day, this line is going to be inside by the time you finish attaching your zipper. So I'll just mark 4 inches as well. Okay, and then I will just trace it now to meet up the 5 inches up. Okay, so I'll just give it a slight tracing to meet up to that point. You can see what I have here. Let me make it bold so you can see. Right, so for this part, you can just play with it. There's nothing much, just be creative. So I'll just let it meet up to that 5 inches, and I'll also repeat the same for the back side. Okay, and then we cut. This is very easy. Okay, so now this is what I have here. I'm going to cut this out. After cutting it out, I will trace it in another paper. I'll just place this and trace it on another paper, because on that particular one now we are going to slash all these parts to expand it so that we can gather it to join on these skirt parts. All right, so let me just cut this out. I'm going to take this one at a time so that you understand better. So let me just cut this out and place it on another paper and trace it out. All right, after cutting it out, this is what I have. So I am going to remove this part. Remember, this is the side I just cut out now. I'm going to keep it aside, but we're not going to be using this again. So now this is what I have left. I'm going to join these sides together. I'm going to use my paper tape to join it together. Okay, if you join this part, this is how it should look after joining. That's why I'm placing this over this, and then I'll secure it with my paper sellotape as well. Okay, so after doing that, we are going to trace it on another paper. Okay, so now this is a new shape that I'll be working with. Now you can see that this is more wider than the first one, than this that I just cut out. So we're not going to be using this. This is more wider. So I'm going to trace this out. So I'll just use my pen just to trace it out, and then I'll cut it out. After cutting it out, we're going to use the slash and spread method to cut this out, so we can have enough room to add the gather or the ruffles to this side. Okay, so I'll just quickly trace this out and cut, or you can okay, so this is what we are going to be working with, this particular one and then this. So for the slashing, we're going to be slashing on this. Okay, so to do that, you can decide to just get the midpoint by folding your paper in two like this, just to get the midpoint, and then we connect that midpoint line straight. Okay, so I'll just quickly do that and then connect the midpoint line straight. So here you can see I have the marking on the center point. So now the slashing is going to come on this curvy area. That is where we're going to be slashing it. This side is going to be the way it is, and we are also going to slash these front bodies because we want the waist area to be gathered as well. So I'm going to start with this. So first thing, since it is this area that we're targeting, I will start by marking out 1 inch from this center line. So just mark 1 inch, 1 inch, okay, and I'll repeat the same on this other side as well. So this is 1 inch. Then I will take it all the way down, okay, and then connect it to a straight line. That is where we're going to be slashing, and then we'll spread it out on the main fabric. So just continue. Or getting to this end, I'll leave like 1/2 inch, okay. So for example, this is 1/2 inch, okay. So I'll make sure that it doesn't exceed that 1/2 inch point. So this is it. So I'm going to slash it open and end it on this 1/2 inch line, and then I'll repeat the same on this other side, okay. But first I'm going to connect the lines and then slash it open. So you can see I just finished slashing it open. So I'm going to place on my fabric and then spread it the way I want it to be, okay, and then follow it as it is and cut it out. Then I will gather that part. So I'm going to repeat what I just did now on this front, but for this front is going to be a little different. So I'm going to open it up. Like I said earlier, I want the waistline to also have a gather. So the first thing I'm going to do is to measure what I have on this shoulder point. Okay, so here it is 4 1/4. So this is the midpoint. I'll just connect that now to this dart point here. Okay, now this is where the first slashing is going to come in for this front side. So I'll repeat the same on this other side as well to get the midpoint and connect. Okay. Okay, so this is it. This is where I'll be slashing through these dart points, but I will not cut this part off. So I'll just have like 1/2 inch as well. The slashing will end on that 1/2 inch point. So now on this center line, you can see this is the center line. I will mark 1 inch on each of the sides. So this is 1 inch, this is 1 inch as well, and then I'll come to the neckline and I'll mark 1/2 inch. You can see I am placing my tape on that center line. So this is 1/2, this is 1/2. Okay, I'll also connect. So I'll just connect it like this. You can see that I left 1/2 inch space here because I'll not be cutting through the neckline. So I'll connect this side as well. Okay, so this is the center line. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead now and slash it open, then spread it out on my fabric and cut so we can start sewing. Right, after cutting it out, this is what I have. This is the front. Okay, so this is the part I'm going to use my gather stitch now to run it, and then I'll gather it till I have the actual waist measurement. So this is for the side ruffle. Okay, so I have two here, one for each. So I'll also use my gather stitch and run it all the way down to this other end before we join it to the side. But before joining, I'll open. This is the front for the skirt part. You can see this is how it is. So I'll take the back. I'm going to join it first before attaching this one that I'm going to gather. So I'll just join the sides together like this. Okay, so I'm going to join it on this side together before adding this one. Okay, so I'm going to take this one at a time, and I will show you all how to do that on my sewing machine. Alright, this is where we are so far. I decided to explain a bit on what I did. Now this is how I joined this part. You can see that I just sew this area straight. If you want, you can also sew it straight, like say from the hemline you can make it 15 inches. What I have here is 12 inches. That is where I ended the straight sewing. So you can make yours 13, 14 or 15. So this part you can just play with it. And I did the same on this other side, that is at the back side. It is also 12 inches. That is for mine. Now I'm going to gather this part now to fit in on what I have left. Okay, so that I will have this shape like this on this area. So this is this other side that I've finished sewing. So this is what it will look like after sewing. This is the side. This is how it is. Now this is the back side. You can see how I did the joining. Now if you want to add lining to the dress, for me I will not be adding any lining because I don't want it to have any weight. But if you want to add lining to yours, you are going to use that pattern. Remember the pattern before slashing it for this. Just use your pattern and cut it out exactly as it is. You don't need to slash it. That is for the lining. you just place it like that and cut out your lining without slashing it. All right, and then this other side you are going to cut it exactly as it is. That way you end up having a very clean finishing. So I'll just go ahead and finish up this part, and the dress is almost ready. And then I'm going to use my gather as well to, so this is the front, remember, to stitch on the waistline and then gather it together before placing the main pattern on it to cut out the neck line. But I'll be using my lining to do that because the main pattern is just as it is here on my lining. So I'll be using my lining just to place on it and cut out the shape only on the neck and on the shoulder. You don't need to touch the armhole area. If you touch the armhole area, the dress is going to be short on this armhole area. So just trim off the neck and the shoulder. Okay, so let me just quickly finish up this part and then gather this area and join the dress before fixing the bell sleeve. This is where we are so far. As you can see, this is the dress and it's already looking so beautiful. Now this is the upper side. So this time I'm going to cut out a puff sleeve. This is the back side. Like I said, I didn't use any lining for this lower part, but if you want to use lining, you are going to be joining it on top of this so that by the time you close it up, this part is going to look very clean. So I will not be doing that. I'll just use my weaving machine to clean up all these sides. So I'll just go ahead now and cut out a puff sleeve and a bell sleeve, okay, because the sleeve is going to be long and the bell is coming towards the wrist area, while the shoulder part is going to be a puff sleeve. So here I have my sleeve pattern. If you don't know how to draft a basic sleeve pattern, I have a detailed video on how to do that. So now for the puff sleeve, it is very simple. I am going to follow the same method that I used for the upper side, which is the slash and spread method, to get the puff sleeve. And I want the puff sleeve, I want it to be only on the shoulder side, while this other side is going to remain as it is. So before slashing it open, I will use this to cut out the bell part of this sleeve. So the bell part is going to come in on this area, which is towards the wrist. So to cut out the bell part, I have a plain paper here. So this is a plain paper. I'll be using this to cut that out. So the first thing I'm going to do is to, you can see that this is the edge. This is a 90-degree this part is called a 90-degree. So this is the edge. So what I'm going to do now, you can see I'll just take this part because the bell sleeve is going to be on this side. So I'm going to take it as it is and place it on this point like this. This is the easiest way of making or cutting out a bell sleeve. So I'm going to place it as it is. Okay, you can see that this matches the measurement that I have on this area where I'll be joining the bell sleeve. So I'm trying to match it up to align on these two lines, and then I'll connect that to a straight point. Okay, so this is it. After connecting now, I'll just mark the length that I want the bell part to have. So for this side, I'll be making it 5 inches. So I'll just follow the line now and mark 5 inches. So the 5 inches is the sewing allowance is included in these 5 inches. So I'll just follow the line as it is and mark. After marking, I'll just connect the point, and the bell sleeve is ready. And you can see that it is very, very easy. Okay, there's nothing to stress about a bell sleeve. So I'll just go ahead and cut. Okay, and the bell sleeve is ready. Okay, so by the time you close it up, you can see the shape that we have here. Okay, so I'm trying to make sure that it matches very well. Okay, so this is how you go about cutting out a bell sleeve. So I'll go ahead now and snap this open like I said earlier, only on this part, and then spread it out, place it on my fabric and cut, and then join the sleeve so I can show you the final look of this dress.